So let's start with this. I know I'm not supposed to gender identify in woke world anymore, but you are the highest ranking woman in the GOP right now, and you're also 36 years young. This is quite a thing.
Well, it's very exciting for the North Country. It's very exciting for the Republican Party because it was clear we needed to make a change, to have a unified vision so that we can expose the radical far left agenda of Speaker Pelosi and President Biden and go on offense to win in the midterms because so much is at stake. So many policies are having a negative impact on American families, and we're just over 100 days into the Biden presidency. But I'm proud to serve as a role model for many women across the country.
As crazy as a week as it was, I'm picturing that you didn't get a lot of sleep. You were on the phone a lot. You were in meetings a lot, whatever. Was there any point at which you were like, is this going to happen? What's going on? Let's get this done already.
Well, the leadership races, they're a little bit different than a typical campaign when you're talking to voters. Leadership races in the House, no matter what party you're from, it's about your fellow members. So I think it's a testament to the hard work and the working relationship that I've built with Republican members of Congress over the many years that I've served. I am in my fourth term. I serve on 3 committees, so I have a good working relationship and pulse of my colleagues. And it was very clear that they were looking for a new approach. And the other thing that's interesting, Doug, is I will be the only member of leadership that's flipped a district from Democrat to Republican. When I ran in 2014, previously it was held by a Democrat, and we flipped the district. It voted for President Obama twice, and it voted for President Trump overwhelmingly. So it really tells the story of the modern-day Republican Party and how we've grown our support among the working class.
So you made an interesting decision when this was all going on, and I wonder the thought process behind it. You have said you're only going to serve in this role one term. I mean, it seems like such a perfect fit for everybody. Why limit it to just the one term?
Well, that was in conversations with members. I did not take a specific pledge. I said my intention is to run for this term, and I had always been focused on my committees, and I'll still be focused on my committee work, but there are leadership opportunities in the committee. So I continue to focus on that long-term overall in Congress. But again, when you run for these positions, you take it every term, and my focus is on winning back the majority for the Republicans.
I'm sure you saw this. Maybe you didn't, but the New York Times had an opinion over the weekend. I'll read you the headline just to see if you get a chuckle out of it. But the New York Times, giving you advice, said, Elise Stefanik is playing a dangerous game with her career. Are you playing a dangerous game?
This is not the first time the New York Times has pontificated on my career or me or has criticized me. They are very out of touch with the voters in the North Country. And frankly, with the voters across America, they're extremely out of touch. I'm pretty proud of the results that I've been able to deliver to the North Country. My constituents are very excited about this opportunity. And I think this is great for the Republican Party to have a unified, focused communicator to help make sure that our message gets out to the American people and is not part of the distractive narrative that has been pushed by the mainstream media in Washington.
Before the last 10 days or so, a lot of people had been talking, myself included, about you running for governor against Andrew Cuomo, and I thought that had a very good chance of happening. How close did you come, or how seriously were you considering that prior to this job?
Well, a lot has changed in the past couple of weeks when it became clear we needed a new conference chair. Prior to that, my office, myself, we were getting lots of calls from all across the state who were looking for new leadership and really understand that we need to turn this page on the corrupt governor that currently is in Albany, who I call the worst governor in America. I was strongly considering it. I am not running for governor. I am ruling that out at this point. I'm going to be totally focused on working with my colleagues in the House to win back in 2022 and really block the radical agenda from Pelosi and Biden, because when I think about the crises we're facing nationally, Doug, you have an energy crisis, you have an economic crisis, a border crisis, and a national security crisis. These issues the American people are paying close attention to. That's not to say that we have a great opportunity as Republicans to win back the governor's mansion, because we desperately need new leadership in Albany. I will not be running for that position.
Quickly on him, though, I don't know, the chaos here with this mask situation vaccination. The CDC said on Thursday, you're good indoors or outdoors if you've been fully vaccinated. And Cuomo says, I'm going to evaluate that. And until I make a decision, you will keep wearing your mask. Restaurants and small businesses across New York and in the upstate region had people crying, literally crying in their stores because they were having to be the heavy telling people to put their masks on, even though people had been vaccinated. This is insane.
It's insane. It's another example of Cuomo as the emperor with no clothes. This is about power for him. This is not the first time that he's questioned public health guidance or said that what he says should supersede what is coming from the CDC or CMS. We know that he didn't follow public health guidance when it came to our nursing homes. This is absurd, though. This is blatantly political and about power for Governor Cuomo. And it's really a distraction from the numerous investigations that he is facing. He doesn't even follow the rules himself, so it is absolutely unacceptable to have a governor that is not following this science-based guidance. And what's more acceptable is that this White House, President Biden, refuses to call Governor Cuomo out. They are responsible for the fact that one of their closest allies, the New York Democrat governor, is not following the guidance from their own administration.
Representative Elise Stefanik joins us live on WGY. By the way, I love that your itinerary today reads, go live on Fox and Friends, and then right below it, go live on WGY. That just amuses me to no end.
It's important to talk to my constituents at home. I know lots of folks are listening to you, so always appreciate the opportunity to go on the show.
Well, let's talk about Biden for a second. Obviously, your work is even more important now based on your new position. I look at Biden, and he's our president, and I want him to do well. I'm just looking at the wins column and the loss column, and I'm not seeing a lot in the win column. I feel like, if we continue on this trajectory and we have the border problems we have the Israel-Hamas situation continuing to just spiral out of control. We have infrastructure plans that seem like they're going nowhere. We have unemployment problems where people aren't going for really good paying jobs because the government is paying them more to not work. I feel like your job is getting easier by the day in 2022 to win back the House.
Well, it's not about my job getting easier. It's about it getting harder for the American people to make ends meet. And what Joe Biden promised, they have not delivered. Remember, on Joe Biden's inauguration day, he talked about bipartisanship and being unified. We have yet to see any substantive legislative proposal or bill signed into law that is bipartisan. They have gone to the far left and have tried to appease the progressive wing. And the American people are suffering as a result of this. The economic crisis is particularly hurting families across this country and small businesses. It's basically every day in the local papers in upstate New York, in my district, whether it's the Times-Union or the Watertown Daily Times, that they highlight businesses who are unable to find work. Ted's Fish Fry, which is a beloved place to stop for your fish fry, especially as it warms up during this part of the year. They are closed one day a week because they don't have the ability to hire workers, because the incentive that Pelosi and Biden have is to pay people more to stay out of work rather than the incentive getting back to work. It's the same thing in Watertown, to Plattsburgh, and all across America. And then people are feeling the crunch. They're feeling the inflation. They're feeling the increases at the pump, the highest gas prices in over 7 years. Consumer goods prices are going up. That essentially is a tax on the American people. And when those issues start impacting your pocketbook so quickly in just over 100 days of this presidency, people are going to start standing up and saying, we need a change and we need a check on this far left progressive agenda. So it's a real opportunity for Republicans not only to expose this far left agenda, but to put forth our solutions, our focus on safely reopening the economy, reopening our schools, having strong national security, and having energy independence.
Two more quickly before I let you go. A guy that I know Montana Governor Gianforte, said, look, we're not doing this unemployment thing anymore. We will actually offer a cash incentive. If you take a job and you stay with it for 4 months, we'll pay you a bonus then, but you're not going to get a bonus to not work. We know that the governor's not going to do that here in New York. Is there anything that D.C. can do to sort of end this stalemate of unemployment's better than going back to work?
Well, Republicans are trying to eliminate the additional unemployment, so the incentive is to get folks back to work rather than to incentivize staying out of work. I've also worked on legislation to focus on a bonus and investment in workforce development to get people back on their feet, again, with that pipeline to work. I agree with Governor Gianforte's decision. He used to serve in the House, so he's a former colleague of mine. But again, he's trying to reopen the economy and have the incentive to have folks seek employment rather than staying home. This has been a disaster in New York from the beginning, even how they manage the unemployment process with the backlog in the state. So it's just another issue where Governor Cuomo is playing far left politics rather than helping our economy grow in the state.
Lastly, Cuomo has talked for a while now about these tax increases that are actually going to be tax cuts when SALT is repealed. Is SALT going to be repealed down in D.C. this year or not? Because it seems weird. Like he's acting like he thinks it's a guarantee. Biden hasn't really spoken too publicly about it. Where does that stand?
Well, what we know is that President Biden has proposed trillions of dollars of tax increases. And the SALT issue, Democrats have put forth not just the repeal of the SALT, but tax hikes to go along with it. It's very, very well known that I oppose any tax hike. I've never voted for a tax hike. We are taxed too much in New York State and at the federal level. And it's one of the key issues how I've been able to win by such large margins, not just Republicans, but Democrats and independents. Right now, Biden has not really weighed in on that. But what we do know is that their proposal on taxes is to raise taxes for Americans by trillions of dollars during challenging economic times.
Congresswoman Elise Stefanik, there's never enough time, but I appreciate the time that you do give. I appreciate you coming on WGY, and congratulations again on the new position.
Great. Thank you so much, Doug.